Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Travel Coach, moving body, mind, and spirit. My guest today is a woman with a powerful story of transformation. She's originally from Zimbabwe, currently living in the Netherlands, and while she's a life coach, she spent the last 16 years of her life working in the airline industry. Kaley Chaiva, welcome to the Travel Coach.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. So, you like to get started maybe talking a bit about your background growing up?
Yeah, well, as you already told the people, I was born in Zimbabwe 39 years ago. And yeah, my mother met a Dutch man, her ex-husband, and he brought us to the Netherlands. And yeah, from there on, I went to school here in the Netherlands. I learned the Dutch language. I studied abroad. And as you said, my transformational journey started with traveling, actually. Experienced a few traumatic things in my life. And I had found that when I was traveling, it gave me kind of an escape from where I was in. I enjoyed traveling. I enjoyed meeting other people. Yet the core, like essence, reason of why I was traveling wasn't always that pure, if you will. And so for 16 years, I have been flying around the world for KLM. Up until recently, I found that I would really much like to use my own experiences to help other women. And that's why I started coaching, and especially wanting to coach women that have been through childhood trauma and generational trauma. And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, so you have a very powerful and inspiring story indeed. So let's start maybe step by step and let's go deeper. So you said that you moved to the Netherlands. How old were you? Was the early age?
Yeah, very early age. I would say around 7 years old. I have to admit that because of all the traumatic things that I've experienced in life, one thing that the human body is really good in doing is shutting off. So, like exact dates and moments, I don't really like remember, but it was about 7 years old when I got to the Netherlands. Yes.
So does it count like your first travel, big transformation experience, or you were too young to maybe even realize or notice the difference?
Oh, it was a huge difference, because I was moving from like Black Africa with mostly Black people around me. And when I got to the Netherlands, we actually moved to the Bible Belt at first. And I was the only Black person, well, child there. My mother was Black and my brothers as well. But I was the only like Black girl in school. My brothers were a little bit younger then, and that has been like a theme until I was about like 12, 13. So experiencing people from other cultures, seeing people from other races, that was a really huge experience for me back then. Yes.
Yeah, must be very impactful in a young girl of 7 years old, right?
Yes.
Maybe marks your personality or the direction of your life in that moment.
Yes, I do know that I've always been interested in like other people, in a sense of how they live and how they go through life, and like wanting to know if there was anything else outside of me and outside of my own experience. So I wouldn't say that moving to the Netherlands was a bad experience at all. It was maybe a huge shock, yes, and it was different, but I think has been a positive experience to be somewhere else, learn something new, and still have my roots back in Africa, because that never leaves, of course. So yeah, what you said, it did start um, like me, like the subject where we talking about me traveling and escaping. The move was a big one. And I would like to say that the second one was actually when I was like around 12 years old. I got to go to on an exchange program. I went to Poland and I lived there with a Polish family for a few days. And that was like a huge, huge experience. I think that was like the real first moment that I was like, wow, like there's so much more to see, there's so much more to explore, and how nice it was to be around other people and be welcomed in other people's homes and their cultures. And I think that one marked a really big moment in my life of traveling. Yes.
Yeah, you were already a teenager there.
Yes.
You were more aware maybe of what was going on. What's this memory or this moment in Poland that you remember maybe that would you like to highlight of this trip?
We went there, we were like teenagers, and I went there because I was playing, it was an exchange because of, how do you call it, music, our music class. So I played the flute when I was younger. And so we were supposed to like do like a mini concert over there. And they placed me in a home with a different family, a Polish family. The funny thing was that they didn't speak any English at all. There was just this family. It was the mother, father, their son, and a girl that was my age. But they didn't speak English. I was learning German. They didn't speak German either. There was this faraway uncle that lived like in another village, and he spoke a little bit of German. So whenever he was there, we could communicate. But other than that, it was just like smiling, body language, and that was how we
That's so funny.
communicated. And but still, they made me feel so welcome, and they really like moved everything in their house just for me to be comfortable. During the day, we would go out, visit other schools, and at the end of the day, when I got back to my Polish home, they had like this huge table filled with food, and I'm not exaggerating, huge table, all this food. And they were like, go and eat. And I was like, yeah, but you then, why aren't you joining me? And they would be cramped up in the kitchen eating. And they had like this whole buffet for me. And they were so welcoming. And like, even though we didn't understand each other, even though like we didn't speak the same language, like the hospitality language was there and the love language was there. And yeah, I really enjoyed that time back then. Yes, it
Yeah,
was amazing.
the body language and the love was evident
Yes,
for you
yes,
despite the language
yeah,
barrier. That's beautiful. So you were in Poland for a few days and then you
yes,
were back to home in the Netherlands. How was
yes.
Kaley after this trip? What was different?
I think for me, that started, like I said earlier, that I realized that there's more, and taking it back to my own like traumatic experiences that I had. Traveling was a way to be amongst people who showed love in a different way, and to not be in my own mess, if you will, and like a way to just feel more free and just be freed from the challenges that I was experiencing at home. And that brought me to wanting to be a flight attendant. So, and I actually, before that, every chance that I had to go abroad with school or whatever organization, I would take up on that, because I had another exchange student experience. I went to France for like 8 months.
Wow.
And so whenever I got the opportunity to leave, I would leave. And the longer, the better. So I think from that moment on, knowing that there was a possibility to kind of escape, even though it was just for a short period of time, that's what I was taking. That was what I was looking for. And yeah, so it was actually the beginning of everything.
So what was the force that drove you to travel? Was the feeling of relief? Was you felt safe? What was exactly?
I think like in a way, like the anonymity, like people not knowing your story, people not necessarily seeing at first hand what I was carrying with me, and just to let go, because there was nothing abroad, there's nothing that reminded me of like my traumatic experiences. Like, you know, I didn't have the people around me that either inflicted the traumatic experiences or that were involved in some way. I didn't have the home that, you know, wasn't really a home around me. So I could really start like kind of a new life for whatever period of time I was away. And as I said earlier as well, just feeling, because when you're traveling, you meet a lot of people that are away from home. So in that sense, you are like in the same situation, and that bonds as well. So there's so many levels to like what I got from that. But I think that the main, like the red line is escaping and just being able to think and experience other things that I was experiencing at home, actually.
Was the opportunity, what I hear is the opportunity to have a different life that you created, that you could choose.
Yes.
Yeah, the people
Yeah.
you can choose to be with, and the kind of person you want to be, without any attachment to the past. That's very
Yes.
powerful.
And
And this
also
is,
and
sorry.
it's also the instant, no, it's okay. The instant, you know, like when you go to therapy or counseling, like you start to create a better life for yourself from inside out. But when I was traveling, it was like an instant fix, you know, it was a quick fix. And that is probably the reason why I, after so many years, discovered that this is not the answer. Like, this is not going to help me in the long term.
Was a short-term gratification, very quick, that you got, but then when you were back home, the problems were
Yes,
there.
yes.
So this is when you decided to become flight attendant.
Yes, yes. The earliest memory I have is actually when I was back in Zimbabwe. So I was really young that I wanted to fly. I don't know why I got that, because I can't even remember anybody from my family knowing anything about flying. But there was this fire within that I was like, yeah, I want to fly. So when I got the opportunity, I jumped straight in. And yeah, the farther and the longer the trips, that's where you would find Kaley. Like, I wasn't the girl that would like only go away for just one night. No, just take me away for like 8 days or 14 days. And yeah, I was living out of my suitcase.
Wow. So the longer you could be away from home, the better.
Yes, yes. And I could
And
never understand the colleagues that were always like, oh, I'm so looking forward to be home. And they were like, oh Lord, this trip is really long. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
you were happy there. You were,
yes,
yeah, I
yes.
was wondering. So for you, were these just trips, travel trips, work trips, business trips, job trips, or were actually leisure, pleasure trips for you? Or did you make this difference at all?
Well, like within my job as a flight attendant, I got to travel to places, and sometimes it was longer than just one night. And depending on where I was, I would look around, like what are nice places to see, like in the vicinity, and I would go there. Like, for example, I've been to Kuala Lumpur many times, and I've been on a 14-day trip to Kuala Lumpur as well many times. And this one time I heard about the Parentians, like these islands. So I booked a trip for myself for 5 days to go to an island, and I booked this like cabin bungalow at the beach. And yeah, I went there for 5 days. It was well, it was beautiful, but I'm kind of scared of creepy crawlies, you know. And there were a lot of like spiders and
No,
geckos
I
and
don't like this either.
like, oh, and I was sleeping all by myself there in
Mm,
that you know, at the beach. And but yeah, I would go on work trips, but within those work trips I would travel even further away. And
amazing.
9 out of 10 times I would go by myself, um, because I just wanted to explore. I just like the further the better, and the more unknown, like the better even. And even by myself, I also have learned that like traveling or being by myself is something that I enjoy a lot. Like I do enjoy my own company. And even though I was like escaping from all the traumatic experiences, I still do enjoy being by myself. So that is maybe a little bit special, if you
Yeah,
put
no,
it
but
like
that's
that. But
important that you were able to do
yeah,
this, balance. So it's
yeah,
funny. I was wondering because last week we were talking with a executive coach, Jimmy Beth, and she
yeah,
was
I saw
explaining
it.
how it was difficult, in these work trips or business trips, take the time or the energy sometimes because we are tired after, I suppose, these long flights and, long hours and
Yeah,
days that you
yeah,
had there in the air. So it was difficult to find this energy and also going by yourself. Not everybody has this, determination or courage to go and explore and go to the unknown. So in this case, you were running out of the familiar and
yeah,
embracing the unknown,
yeah,
when
yeah,
usually human beings tend to do the opposite, right?
yeah. And do you know what? It's actually I considered every time I fly or every time I go on a holiday, I like to be at the place as if I am like a local. I don't like to travel to be a tourist. So of course I went to like the Taj Mahal, you know. I would like to, I saw that. I saw like Lady Liberty, you know, the Golden Gate Bridge. Like of course I want to see that, but like just to mark that off your list. But on the other side, what I did enjoy most was being where the locals were. And so I love to talk. So I would talk to everybody and anybody who would had time with for me. And I would ask them like, okay, where's a good place to eat, or what's a good thing to do? And so for me, that made it easier to be by myself, because I was like, it was like a second home for me. Like I considered like the whole world like my home, you know. It's, and I wasn't like really being a tourist. It was just a home away from home. So maybe that makes it easier if you consider it, like made it easier for me to consider it that way, that I belonged wherever I was.
Yeah.
I belonged there.
You didn't have homesick, or I don't
No.
know how were your your colleagues in the crew were actually approaching these trips the same way, or were you seeing they were doing different?
Oh no. It differs because everybody flies for a different reason. Most of them like, you know, being with other people, seeing other cultures. Um, However, I do remember one time when we were in it. It was just a short trip to Madrid, and we had a layover of maybe, what was it, 10 hours? Like it was really short layover, and but it was just before dinner time, and I wanted to eat somewhere. I was like, I'm in Madrid. Like the weather is good. Like I'm not going to eat at the. Some colleagues would go to the, what is it, Fridays, because that was just
Mm,
around the
mm,
corner of our
mm.
hotel. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat at a Fridays in Madrid. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can do that at home. So there was a guy uh, during the flight that I asked, like, okay, can you recommend me a nice place to eat and, you know, a nice place to go to and just roam around? And he wrote down this address for like a rooftop bar. and that had like a nice view and like good food and like a nice atmosphere with young people and just laid back. And he said, well, it's a little walk from your hotel. But I was like, the sun is still out, the weather is good, so I'm going. So my colleagues actually were
Amazing.
like, okay, what are we going to do for dinner? I said, are you joining me to that rooftop bar? And they were like, no, we're just going to stay close to home because we only have 10 hours here and we have an early wake up. And they were like, are you sure you're going by yourself? Like, you'll be all by yourself. And I was like, yeah, but I'd rather be all by myself and have a good, like, Spanish dinner than stay near the hotel and go to a
It's priorities,
Fridays.
right? It's priorities in
Yes,
life.
yes, yes.
And
So,
also the importance to ask to local people, right? So you don't need to know
yes,
everything, just ask.
no,
People love helping.
totally, totally. And especially when you are alone, like, I've encountered so many times that I was this. Oh, I need to watch the time for my talking, but I was walking in Israel. I was walking to, I believe it's Jaffa, and there was this group of elderly men, and they were drinking tea, and they saw me walking by myself, and they were like, "Oh, come, drink some tea with us." And I was like, And then at the end, I spent like an hour with them, and they spoke French. And because of my time abroad, I spoke French too. So I just had like a lovely hour drinking tea with those guys. But that's like the beauty when you are by yourself. You're more approachable than when you're within a group. So that makes it even more special that you will be like more prone to experience different things than when you are in a larger group. So yeah, I would recommend traveling by yourself at least once.
To try that the world is not a
Yes.
scary place and people is
No,
willing to help.
no.
That's beautiful. You must see amazing places around the world and have lots of fun
Yeah.
anecdotes, I'm sure. I don't know if you want to share one quick one.
Oh, Lord. Well, I told you about the Parentians, right? So, actually, when I was there, I found out that a colleague of mine, he decided to go there as well. And we took the same boat back to Kuala Lumpur. We first had to take from the Parentians, it was a boat, like a ferry for like, what was it? I don't even remember the times, 1.5 hour. And then we had to be in a taxi. After the taxi, we had to take a flight to Kuala Lumpur. And from Kuala Lumpur, we had to take another taxi to go back to the hotel. So we started this journey at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That same night, we were supposed to fly back to the Netherlands.
Wow.
So we were like playing a little bit with time, but
We have
I
plenty of time. Yeah, we have
I
plenty
wanted
of time.
I wanted to take like full advantage of the time and the hours that I had. So we were on that boat, and our boat broke down. So we were in the middle of nowhere out in the sea, and our boat broke down. So we were like, okay, we have a flight tonight. We have to work. We need to be in Kuala Lumpur because we had a flight to catch from, I don't even remember the city, to Kuala Lumpur, and then take a taxi back to our hotel, change clothes, and then move to the airport to work. So we were already thinking about strategies. Okay, who are we going to call? What can we do? Can maybe colleagues like clean out our room and take our luggage to the airport so that we can change at the airport, that we don't have to go back to the hotel. So luckily there was another boat nearby. They called that boat. Everybody had to jump over in the middle of the sea or ocean. We had to jump over on that other boat. And I think we had a delay of like more than an hour. Our taxi was waiting for us. We jumped in the taxi, and he was driving like crazy. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. But we wanted to make that flight because we had to be in Kuala Lumpur. So when we got to the airport, that flight was delayed. So we were like, oh, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
But it gets worse. So we get on that flight, we get to Kuala Lumpur, we get to our hotel, our crew hotel, and we were supposed to only have like 30 minutes to shower, pack our bags, and then be in uniform, ready to go to the airport. So we are there at the air. We eventually come to our hotel, and I open up my door, and there's like this stack of letters. Like whenever there are changes within our flight or delays or whatever, like KLM will send faxes to the hotel, and they will slip like the letters underneath our door so that we will be updated on any like delays or changes within the flight. But there was this whole stack of papers, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? So the first one I read was like, yeah, we've been trying to contact you for a few days now, but we were on the island. So we were not, yeah, they knew where we were, but I think the reception wasn't that good. We actually had to go back earlier, but because they couldn't find us, they sent out other people. But now we were how do you call it, too many people. So they didn't need us anymore. So they sent us back home like deadheading. So we didn't have to work back home to Amsterdam. So it was a 14-day trip. And I actually only had to work going to Kuala Lumpur, and then one flight in the middle. And then after 8 days, I got to like sit and relax, lay back, and go back home.
My God. I'm sure you could write a book about it or make a movie or something of all your adventures and stories.
Yeah.
But Kaley, explain, because one day this motive of traveling, this reason of traveling changed, right?
Yes.
So you used to travel to escape. What happened? What happened that, no need to go in details, but what was...
No.
What changed?
I have been in and out of therapy for like 23 something years because of the childhood traumas that I've experienced. And I've had help here and there, but some way or the other, the body always knows best. So I got a breakdown, and I went into therapy. Actually, the breakdown that I had was at the beginning of, I was supposed to go to Kuala Lumpur again for 14 days. And I was looking forward actually, but my manager told me, like, you're going to stay home, like you're not going anywhere. And I got rolled into really intensive therapy, trauma healing. And I started to realize that I had been running away, and I couldn't run anymore. Like, they kind of grounded me. I was like at home base. I couldn't go anywhere. I had to face everything. And I was already facing everything in some way, but not as intense as I was then. And I started to feel that wherever I was going, like, all my challenges will always like catch up with me. And I learned that I really had to make peace within myself to appreciate the outer world. And as long as I couldn't appreciate myself, I couldn't really enjoy the outer world. I couldn't really let the outer world in a just way, if you will. And therapy really, it really changed within a few months, that I was somebody that always wanted to be outside of my house to somebody that became kind of a homebody, and somebody that appreciated my home, and that I now feel that my home is my sacred place, and that's my safe place now. I don't have to run away anymore. That's and so that I got me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So it's so important to do also this inner. It's not only exploring the world, it's also who we are. Who is this person who is exploring the world, who determines the
Yes.
outcome, the experiences, the happiness, the feelings that we are going to enjoy. So also the intention behind the travel, not only the travel by itself. So
Yes.
powerful.
No, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so you know, Kaley, that I like to collect hidden gems from all around the world. So if you would like to share some place in your town or your region that you think is a must to visit if we go there, what this could be?
Yeah, I didn't really do my homework because I wanted to look for the English words, but I forgot. But in the northern of the Netherlands, we have a few islands, and they are amazing. When I first got to the Netherlands, I actually like got to see like whole of the Netherlands, like all the big major important parts or cities or historic points in the Netherlands. And those islands, there are 5 or 6 islands, and there are two of them that I really, really like, and they're called Ameland and Schiermonnikoog.
Okay.
They're really picturesque islands. They're really tiny. Like most of them, you can like cycle around in one day. One of them doesn't even allow cars on it, only for the local people. They have local delicacies. They have amazing, amazing beaches and dunes and forests. And yeah, just rent a bike and just explore. And yeah, so that is the gem that I would like to share. Go
That's
there.
amazing. I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Great. So last but not least, how people can reach out to you, how they can contact you.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram, blessed as I am, and you can follow me there. I would really like to have you follow me, and I'll also invite you to like contact me out, and I would love to have a conversation with you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kaley. It's been a pleasure to have you on board the Travel
Thank
Coach
you.
today. I wish you and everybody tuning in safe and happy travels. Thank you again.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Sonia. Thank you. Bye-bye.